Let's talk.
We're on? Okay.
So,
all right.
hey, everybody, let's start by saying this is a brand new studio. It's our first time
Yeah.
working
So
in here like this.
we're in an old space that we made into a brand new digital studio, and then behind the glass wall behind me, you can look out into our newsroom. But this is kind of a visual sign of the commitment that our station is really all in on to become a full, really 24/7 complete digital news outlet for you.
Yep,
That's
that's
why
right.
we really stress that the great stories that we do during our newscasts, a lot of times they're posted on YouTube in their entirety before we even get to our 6 o'clock news or our sunrise show.
We have started doing
or
that,
what
yep.
have you. And should we get some weather, which we're lacking at so far this winter,
Yeah, so
we'll be
that's
doing more of these updates throughout the day as
yeah,
well.
that's what this inaugural one is about. This live update for the flood watch that's happening this weekend, Rod.
Yeah, so here we go. Here's the latest, and by that I mean I just looked at the information that has just come down of the latest computer modeling. As you know, a lot of you, we get models anywhere between 4 and 6 times a day, depending on the one. So the trend started yesterday to back off of how much rain we could see. So the rain potential starting to back off of those numbers. And now today, we're backing off even more so. You are looking at the radar. Or I think we're going to show that right now. You can see that this is all just good old-fashioned, steady, gentle rain right now, moving into Salem, up and down the coast. Portland, we've got rain. It looks like about ready to move into the Tigard, Tualatin, Sherwood area, and that'll be coming into downtown shortly. And today is going to be a fairly wet day, but here are the latest rainfall projections. Portland today, 1/2 of an inch, 6/10 of an inch, something like that. Tomorrow, here's the shocker. Tomorrow there's reason to believe that the rain band kind of pushes back out to sea and holds off from us, and maybe we would have a frivolous 1/4 of an inch, a day that 48 hours ago looked like we would get 2 inches of rain. We call that buckling, where it looks like the stream of moisture is going to come right into us, and instead the upper level winds push the southern end of it, and a track that looked like this all of a sudden stands up, and it just holds off along the coast, and we don't get it. So maybe that happens tomorrow. We only get a 1/4 of an inch, and then the main rain band, that buckled, if you will, then does push into us on Saturday, and all of a sudden Saturday could be the wettest of the bunch. So the updated rain potential for Portland at this point, and the two main models I look at are in agreement on this. Today, 1/2 of an inch, maybe a little bit more. Friday, a 1/4 of an inch. Saturday, 9/10 of an inch. You add those up and you come up with a figure that's less than 2 inches. And then you ask yourself, well, what does that mean for the mountains? Well, it means the mountains would be 3 or 4 inches of rain at most. And then you ask yourself, is that enough to warrant a flood watch? And the answer is no. So obviously, we're trying to predict the future, as they say. So the Weather Service does have in green on our watch warning map a flood watch. This extends for the entire coast, all of the valley, up through southwest Washington, into the Cascades. Right now it's posted to expire Sunday morning. But especially if tomorrow is a complete bust, and I would expect the Weather Service to cancel that flood watch. But for now it's up, as there's still some uncertainty as to how this plays out. But the trend is backing off tremendously on how much rain we're going to get. The winter storm warning you saw in purple on that map for the Cascades, a reminder that is still for travelers generally above the Cascade passes. Government camps going to be looking at inches of rain, for example. The snow level is going to be somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 feet, maybe bouncing back and forth between those elevations where there could still be feet of snowfall. The coast, that kind of tan or brown color, you see the sliver along the coast itself, that is still a high wind warning for tonight into tomorrow morning. Now, the wind fields that we get as forecasters show there could be 60-mile-per-hour south wind gusts tonight. That would be enough to warrant a warning. However, if you look at the pressure tendencies down low with the actual makeup of where the front is, where the low pressure system is, if you just stare at that, you would think we probably don't get high winds. So, I tell you what, this is looking to be a shadow of what we were seeing as forecasters when this started to show up last week. It still looked like it could be a major potential river flooding event to some capacity for our smaller rivers on Monday and Tuesday. It looked that way. Yesterday, I started to back off my rhetoric a little bit, and now I feel like I'm almost pulling the rug out from underneath everything, Jeffrey.
Well, that's I'm looking at questions. There are plenty of people still joining us, but Patrick Dutcher said he called it on Monday that the storm would be nothing close to an atmospheric river, but I think you've explained that pretty well.
Hey, put up weather one real quick. Brian, who's our fine director, is watching us. I'm going to click to a satellite picture. Just let me click through some things, and I'll come back to some of these maps, but I think it's the next one. Yeah, okay. See my blue arrows and see that elongated fetch of moisture? That's what meteorologists refer to as an atmospheric river. And right now, see how it looks like? By golly, it's just going to channel right into our area. Well, that's the way it looked for days and days and days, which is why the projection just 48 hours ago, 2 days ago, was for a good inch of rain today, maybe 2 inches of rain tomorrow, and maybe a half of an inch of rain or more on Saturday. But now it looks like instead of just channeling into us, that's going to be what I call buckle, which means it's going to stand up and orientate itself more north-south instead of east-west and hold off maybe almost all of the rain on Friday. The gentleman that made the comment on Facebook that I responded to?
Yep.
Patrick. Okay. Good morning, Patrick, if you're watching us. I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to assume that Patrick's taking a fun little jab saying, every time you guys say something big is going to happen, it never happens. And I basically, can I just read my response? Is that up?
No, I don't have your response.
Okay, I'll ad-lib my response. I basically said, forecasters in general, our primary responsibility is to put out advance warning to the potential of a hazardous weather event. Mm-hmm. And it's always better, and we don't put out these big warnings unless models have been showing most of them the same thing for days and days, which was the case for this. We have no way of knowing if the model is going to back off eventually. But it's always best to go big and then bring it back, because, again, we're trying to get a warning out. The worst case is to start small and then all of a sudden nobody's listening to you, and then you got to go big at the very last second. Or the snowstorm we had, in January of 17, where we forecasted 4 inches of snow and it blew up to a foot. That's the worst case scenario. It's always better to go big and then come back if the forecast modeling starts to fall apart.
I'd rather take the chains off my tires on dry pavement than put them on in ice.
So it looks like that's what's happening here, but keep in mind, this event's just starting. Mm-hmm. I mean, the forecast models could turn around, not what I call buckle that moisture flow and still ram it into us tomorrow. And then we'd be back to a period of about 2.5 days of fairly steady moisture. So let me backtrack through some maps. A couple things I want to point out. If you are traveling, we're getting into, people getting some extra vacation time, maybe leaving at any moment for their holiday travels. It's going to be just rain heavy at times over the Cascade Passes, it looks like, for the coming days. You can see Government Camp here is just above freezing. That's a wet, well-treated Highway 26. So did I not save this, or did I save this?
We don't know.
No, I did save this. This is my latest graph. Let's go back to that, Brian. This is my latest graphic that I just updated. So valley rainfall total at the most now between today, tomorrow, and Saturday, 1.5 inches to at most 2 inches. Maybe that's overdone, but that would not be enough to produce any big issues at all. Mountain rain, 3 to 6 inches. What you're looking for here, by the way, just so you know, typically when that mountain rain amount goes over 6 inches, that's when you start watching for maybe some spotty river flooding. But if it's 6 inches or less, we typically don't have any trouble. So right now, the main concern, if not quite frankly the only concern, is for localized high water spots if we get into a period of several hours where it's really coming down, which we could still do. The latest rain break right now looks to be setting up. We get what we get today, under 1 inch, and then we get into a bit of a rain break potentially tonight and through a good chunk of the day tomorrow before the rain comes back tomorrow night into Saturday.
Well, we've got quite a few people joining. Let's go through in quick fashion. Let's go through personalized forecasts.
Yeah, here we go.
Jenny wants to know, what about high winds tonight? Will the Christmas ships be canceled?
So wind warning is up for the coast tonight, and that's the potential of a south 60-mile-per-hour wind gust at the coast, which is borderline. That may or may not happen. I think here in Portland tonight, if you're talking about the ships on the Willamette and the Columbia River, I know they alternate on nights. It's probably going to be a south wind. At most, I would think we'd get gusts to 30 miles per hour, but I would expect it to be at least breezy 10 to 20. I personally don't know what the parameters are that they look at to decide if they're going to go or not go.
Okay. What about the Staten area? Mary Reef wanted to know. She says good morning, and she wants to know if you can tell her anything about what's going to happen in the Staten area.
I will tell you, snow levels are high, and it doesn't look like there's any reason to think that Staten or areas to our south would get higher rain amounts for here in the valley, which means all of a sudden the best guess is that we get more than 2 inches of rain over a 3-day period, which at that point, that's just well-needed rainfall. Let's take what we can get. Yeah.
All right. Joey Vogt, I think his name is, says, excellent update. Kayak is ready. Linda says, good morning from Hawaii. I don't know what you want to say about that.
She's breaking my heart.
That's what I think.
Other than, raise your hand if you wish. Mary, is that right?
Was it? This is Linda.
Linda, okay.
Yep.
Linda, I wish I was you.
Yep.
At least today.
Yep. Let's see. Debbie says we're getting much needed rain.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you speak a little bit to? It looked scary there for a while in late November, right?
Yeah, I brought my record book out to show you. Remember we had that crazy September that went just shy of 4 inches of rain in Portland. That was well above normal. In fact, I think September I have in my book as the 6th wettest Portland out of PDX had ever had. So that was great. And then you start wondering, wow, here we go. Mm-hmm. But then October comes, and October is roughly 50% of normal rainfall with 1.51 inches. And then November hits. November, 1.52 inches, just about as dry as October was. And November goes in the books as the 5th driest November. So, coming into today, we've got a rainfall deficit for the water year, which starts October 1, of about 7 inches. We're 7 inches below normal. What is it? 7 inches below normal means that since October 1, somewhere we lost 6 weeks of needed rainfall. That's a huge deficit, especially when you consider our wettest months are typically November to December. It's very tough to make up. So December comes, and all of a sudden, we get some decent rain back on the 6th and the 7th when we picked up about 3/4 of an inch of rain. And then we've had some decent rain at times since then, but we're still setting under 2 inches of rain for the month, a deficit of about 1.25 inches. We were hoping to not only get caught up, but at one point, Monday, Tuesday, it looked like we would get enough rain this week that would put us in a surplus for the entire month. Now it looks like we're going to be doing well just to get caught up and have a little bit extra in the tank as we go into next week. So, yeah, we definitely need the water, no doubt about that.
I do want to let you know, Willie says he's on your side. He says doing what you do is like a play-by-play guy doing sports. You can't say you can say what's happening. You can give indicators of what might happen. Yeah. But if the team doesn't get a touchdown, you can't be blamed. That's what Willie's saying. He's on your side.
I think I speak for every forecaster when I say when we look at so many models, and I literally spend literally hours a day just looking at forecast models. And when they all agree on something for a number of days, starting maybe 10 days out, and then let's say maybe 5 days into the event, we start saying, hey, this could happen. This could be a big deal. We've just been showing up and verifying. And then it falls apart 2 or 3 days before the fact. Nobody hates that more than a forecaster. And I think wrongfully, I think that's the good word, wrongfully, there are people out there that think that that we're just trying to make stuff up and make hype so we can have a big headline. And that's just not the case. Believe me, I never want to come out with something, say it's going to happen, and then got to, backtrack. I always tell people I don't care what the weather is. I just want the forecast to be right.
Yeah, there was a time last year when I took your forecast to heart in Northeast Portland. I put the chains on my tires the night before so I can make sure I got into work. And there were 4 or 5 inches of snow right outside my door. There was ice all over Alberta Street on the way in. And I got here, and I was surprised to find out on the west side they barely saw anything.
That was the Beaverton ain't got nothing event.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it was exactly what you said where I live. Yeah. And so I was really thankful that I was prepared for it. So.
And we're getting off subject a little bit, talking about that snow event last February where the east side had 6-8 inches of snow. Beaverton had nothing. I think the airport officially had 4 inches that day out at PDX. But it really illuminated for me something that we don't do very well as forecasters. And think about this real quick as the winter season comes. When we throw out a forecast, we could get 1 inch of rain in the valley. And some people get 1 inch of rain and some people get 1/4 inch of rain. That's common. That happens a lot. Now, nobody whines and cries about that. But my point is, why should we expect it to be any different in most snow events? Hey, we could get 8 inches of snow. Well, we didn't get anything. Now everybody's upset. Not the people that got 8 inches, but the people that didn't. But my point is, very few rain events, very few snow events are uniform across our area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say at least the majority of time, the high end of what we speak about was met somewhere in the valley. Maybe it was in Washington County. Maybe it was in East Multnomah County. Maybe it was in Clackamas. Maybe it was in Cowlitz County. But we need to do a better job as forecasters of reminding you that unless it's one of the few events, these things typically aren't widespread when it comes to the uniform amounts or the amounts, because we do cover a large area.
Yeah.
Now, does it do any good for me to go, well, you may not get nothing. You don't have 8. You may get 8 inches. I don't have any idea who the nothing is. I don't have an idea who the 8 inches is. That probably doesn't do any good at all either, but it's a good point to remind ourselves about.
Mm-hmm. I know you have got a TV cut in. You've got to head out for in a couple minutes.
Do I?
Don't you? I thought you did. Never mind.
We don't.
Let's just do this then.
Yeah.
That's great news. So Heather Sandusky and several other people are just asking, when will we get snow here? I know that's a tough question,
I came out with my winter outlook, which you can still find that on our website.
Yeah, in fact, you know what I'll do is I'll
KGW.com?
put a link in the comments right now. In fact,
Okay.
I'll put several links in there.
Thank
one
you,
to the
Jeffrey.
forecast, one to that, and a couple to your Facebook post.
So my winter outlook that we came out with the end of October, the 1st of November this year, and when I looked at the setup of what we have expected to be having this year, a cold spell in January popped, and most of the years I looked at had some decent valley snow. So my outlook was for 8 inches of snow. I think 8 to 10 inches overall this winter, and a good chance that the majority of that would be one decent event, like an 8-inch snowstorm, and that would be January or February, with the better bet being January.
Right.
So I'm going to hold to that. But I tell you what, this fall has not been what we thought it would be. And remember, was it last week? The so-called blob was back in the news. I'm pretty sure we had an article on our website,
Yep, it was just
KGW.com,
before last weekend. Yep.
about this big kind of area of warmer than normal Pacific water temperatures off the coast from the northwest. And it made me think, because so far our winter flow pattern has been, I know it's not winter yet, it's fall, but in the terms of forecasting, meteorological winter, it's winter. So far our weather flow has been more what you would expect in an El Nino. California's had much more active weather than we have had. And then I got to thinking, is that possibly, I don't know, I'm just speculating, is that possibly a role being played by this so-called warm blob sitting off of our coast? Because this has not been the classic so-called neutral weather flow. It's been more like an El Nino. If we had a warm ridging off of our coast, so-called blob, that would be more like an El Nino flow. And if these so-called blobs, which has appeared now multiple times, we don't have, as far as I know, we don't have good accurate modeling yet to project when these blobs are going to develop or not off of the northwest coast. But until we get good modeling on that and some years of seasonal forecasting under a belt, that really is going to rip to shreds the confidence level that we had gained over projecting this is what we typically would see during La Nina, El Nino, or so-called INSO neutral years.
So blobs are a relatively new thing in
well, it is,
forecasting.
and I think we're just now to the point that they have kept regenerating to the point that we're thinking, gosh, I guess this is going to continue happening. And if that's the case, the people way smarter than me will come up with some modeling that hopefully will give us a good handle on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we have any more questions. Just it looks like Sue just joined us and is wondering if you just said that there might be one snow event. She's just wondering if there would be any just long spells of very cold, maybe not snow, but very cold weather coming.
I still think that's a possibility in January, but so far the tail of this winter is, we're turning to the radar right there. I think we're the rain moving toward Portland, raining in Salem now. So far the tail of this winter is when the models show something, a cold spell or a wet spell or whatever, they kind of dangle it out there in like the 10 to 16 day out period. And then it just never happens. It keeps getting pushed back, and then it keeps getting pushed back. There was a cold snap that was showing up in December, 1st of January. Now that cold snap is being pushed back to mid-January. As a forecaster, when you see things continually getting pushed back, all of a sudden you start to assume it's never going to happen. But for now, there's still a lot of data that shows that we could have a cold snap mid-January. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. For anybody who just joined us, Sasha just joined us and says, since it's not going to flood, will you just say it's going to snow? I know you can't do that, but could you just recap what the weekend looks like for anybody who's joined in just in the last couple minutes?
So, I mean, Brian, put up, is that my Weather One box over there? Let's go ahead and I'm backtracking through some graphics. Let's see, it's going to backtracking. We're going to get to the, okay, hold on, don't click. Brian, go ahead and take that map full. So, first and foremost, we still have a ton of watch and warnings. Everything lit up on this map is a potential we have problem zone, okay? So I'm sitting here trying to project what's going to happen the remainder of today, Friday, and Saturday. I could be wrong. So for now, we still have a flood watch up through Sunday morning, which means we need to be on guard of how this weather is going to play out over the next 2.5 days or so. We have the wind warning at the coast for potential 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts tonight. We have the winter storm warning in purple for the Cascades. But most of that heavy snow is going to be above 5,000 feet, it looks like, in the mountains, meaning a lot of the Cascade Passes will be either a wet mix or just straight rain. Now, with that said, and that big, just keep yourself updated, the very latest information, and it could change, but the latest is we have rain moving into the Portland area now. It's going to stay with us more than not the rest of today. There you see it on Doppler radar. We're going to get maybe a half, 6/10 of an inch of rain, something like that today. We're going to get a bit of a break in the rain tonight and a bit of a break in the rain tomorrow. Tomorrow, a day that looked like it would get upwards of 2 inches of rain, may get as little as a quarter or 3/10 of an inch of rain.
Well, tomorrow's a big holiday travel day
on Friday.
So that's great news.
That's good news. And then at some point going into Friday overnight, Saturday morning, we're back into steady rain, and we could get 3/4 or 9/10 of an inch of rain on Saturday that doesn't really start tapering off until Saturday night, and then we're totally done with everything. So if the rain totals I just told you, a half an inch today, quarter tomorrow, maybe closer to an inch on Saturday, come true, that would not be enough for any flooding other than some localized ponding on area roads if we get hit with a few hours here and there where it's really raining pretty good. And of course, then that can always happen and be a travel hazard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep an eye out. Thank you very much. We've got our first weather live stream in our new studio in the books.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Hey, and a reminder, if you go to my KGW Ride Hill Facebook page, sometimes I get busy. I don't get to it as often as I would like, but almost always when we're in active weather like we are now, I will check the comments. I will read all of them and a couple times a day. And if you're traveling and you have some questions, I will do my darndest to get back to you. If you are really concerned about some mountain travel, I did this for a person the other day. I gave him in a private message, I gave him my cell phone, and I said, give me a call. And if I have a chance, if you run into something, I have a chance when you call me, I will look and see if I can answer your questions.
That's great.
So do that. Yeah.
I've seen that. You've answered a bunch of questions this morning on your page. I just put a link to your page in the comments here on this post. So
all right.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. Good luck.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yes,
all that
too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
All right.